And if we spin around the wheels, we can see that each of the pistons, they actually go up and down, just like how a real
Hello everyone, Indobrickville returned for another session of review. Today we are going to review our first LEGO Technics team. The LEGO group is sending us quite a lot of LEGO Technics. 8 sets actually, but 4 of them are from
the Technic, the LEGO Technic. And here we have 4 of the awesome hyperbikes and hypercars. But before that, we would like to thank the LEGO group for sending us, of course, these lovely 4 hypercars and hyperbikes. Because without them, again, we would not have been able to make this video. Okay, so on to the introduction of these awesome cars and, of course, the awesome bike. Here we have the Mercedes F1 car, a really large one. The scale is 1:8 and it's made manufactured by Mercedes. Here, this one, we have the McLaren. And then here we have the exact same car, but just made it a bit more tiny. Okay, and then here we have the last one, the hyperbike. This one is a really monster of a bike, Can go around maybe 450 kilometers an hour, I'm not sure, but this is the Kawasaki Ninja H2R. So, very nice. And this is actually one of the road legal versions of the Ninja Kawasaki.
Okay, so without further ado, we will start the review now.
Okay, so here we have the review of the Mercedes-AMG W14 E-Performance Pull-Back. So this is a pull-back car, and without a further ado, let's come closer to get a even more detailed look. Okay, so here we have the Mercedes car, and it looks simple but overall quite accurate. So here, what comes to eye is, of course, the amount of sponsors that have been marked with the car, with the F1 car. So here we can see that it has been sponsored by Petronas, and it has even been sponsored by TeamViewer, and then we have AMD, and then we have the AMG car brand itself, the high performance car. I think AMG stands for something, but I forgot what. I'm not sure what it stands for. Then here we have the Mercedes badge, and then here we have Petronas Syntium, more TeamViewer, more sponsors, and this is also a badge. And then here, if we get a closer look, I'm pretty sure, can the camera get the focus? I'm not sure if the camera can focus. There are more smaller sponsors here. I don't know if the camera can get the focus then. Simple wheels. There is actually a nice touch here. So real F1 cars actually have this. It's to protect the driver from objects that would maybe traverse its way into the cockpit of the car, and this ring is supposed to be really strong and it will help the driver. It could save the driver from any impacts as well. So, and it's called the halo. It's called the halo, and there is a support in the middle. So actually, the driver still can see completely because it's still in the middle, because we actually can't see what's in the middle. So basically, if you put like a pencil in the middle of your eyes, you can't see it. I think that's like the best anatomy I can put it in. Then here we have the part where the engine is supposed to be located, but we can't open it because I think it's too small to put an engine here. And then here we have a small wing, rear wing, and then we have a front wing with some wing tips at the sides. This is a pullback type of car, so if we actually pull it back slightly, we can hear like a resistance on the wheels, and then if we release it, it can move. So if we pull it back and then we lift it up, actually the wheel starts spinning. And so the wheel is also actually not slick, so they're not smooth like how actual F1 tires are. But it's okay, maybe they're maybe the F1 car is being used in the road compatibility, which is quite unlikely. But okay, now let's finally move on to the next car. Okay, now this is the big brother of the Mercedes-AMG W14 Performance. So this is the car that we just reviewed, and this is the car that we are going to review now. So it's a lot bigger, and I think I've mentioned it before, but this is a real scale of 1 to 8 of a real F1 car. So a lot, of course, a lot bigger than the one we just reviewed. And let's start with the features. So unlike before, this one isn't pull back, so you can move the wheels freely without it having been pulled back. And we can actually see, what's interesting about this car is that we can actually pull it down. So this car has real suspension, like how an F1 car would have. So the suspension lies actually in these fins here, I think is what they're called. So the fins are really flexible. So as you can see, if I press them down, the fins are really flexible. Yeah. The front also has them, the same. Let's go to the front now. It's kind of a heavy car as well. Let's see, if I just lift it up, the fins actually bend a lot, which is really good suspension. Alright, and then next we can move to the cockpit. There is a steering wheel, an AMG style steering wheel, so it's like a cube. So it's like, sorry, not a cube, a rectangle. So if you can see that, the steering wheel is kind of a rectangle, and it's connected to a crankshaft which drives 2 of the wheels here. So we can turn it left and we can turn it right. It's very, very nice. So we can also turn the steering wheel, it's connected to the back here. We can also drive it using, or we should not drive it, turn it. We can also steer the wheels using this shaft at the top as well. Left, right, left, right. Okay. So going to the front now, I think. So what's notable about this car is the massive front wing, which of course not all cars have. So this is used to direct the air to the back. And going to the back, we have this adjustable rear wing that we can adjust for each track. So maybe for a different track, different aero adjustments can be used, so to maximize the efficiency of the car, of course. And this is actually a really big wing. So I don't think it's of course normal to have a wing that's this big. So the wing extends until this is the whole wing, so it's really big. And then here we have the rear lights. For when they brake, it will turn red, will shine red, of course. And here we have more splitters at the end to diffuse more air. And then we have the exhaust. And the main feature about this car that I want to present is actually the engine bay. So not only are these wheels movable, it's also driving like a kind of a shaft. So I think this might be the gearbox or the transmission. I'm not sure. So we can actually we can lift up the engine compartment, the engine cover, and we can actually reveal a real W14 engine. And that's how this car is actually named the AMG W14 E-Performance. So because actually this engine is called the W14. And if we spin around the wheels, we can see that each of the pistons, they actually go up and down just like how a real car would. So this is a V16, and each of the pistons are made from, well, titanium in the real one. titanium, and they would combust right there. So it's a really cool arrangement, I say. So the faster we spin, of course, the faster the pistons would compress. So inside the engine bay, we can actually see bits of the car's internal structure. So I would say it's also pretty accurate because of how it's holding the car together, because this is actually a really solid piece of car. So I think it's being held together by a bar, or a few bars even. And then here we have some side skirts for more aerodynamic profiles. On the side here, they direct the air maybe upwards or even downwards. And then here we have more sponsors. And actually for the front one, before we can see, there is the sponsors here. Pro Store, I think, or Crowd Store. Crowd Store, Irelli, and Iconis. There are the sponsors, then more badges, and maybe the finer details like the mirrors and the air intakes. Okay, so the air intake is actually more noticeable here than the smaller F1 car because it's of course the size. So the air intake is actually hollow, so we can see that the air intake is hollow. So here we can see that it goes through. The air intake gives, of course, air to the engine so the engine can run properly. And by the way, the engine is a V6 because of its 6 cylinders. And I think that's, to be honest, all for this really nice car. And there are the rims are not customized, so they're just blank rims. And the tires here are actually custom, as opposed to the one before, because the rims are actually slick. So they're slick tires. The tires are actually customized, so they're really smooth. So this is really accurate for an F1 car, of course. Then I believe, oh yeah, okay, so maybe for the engine cover there is also like this tiny spoiler diffuser. I think it's called a diffuser, but it will diffuse air. It will split the air in half, so it hits each of the rear wing separately. So okay, I think that's it for this really nice car. Again, it can turn. If you want to turn, maybe it can turn. If we move it forward, yeah, it can turn, but not by too much. It can turn. And it's overall one of my favorite, biggest cars that I've ever reviewed. And okay, let's move on to the hyperbike. Okay, so here we have the Kawasaki Ninja H2R, set number 42170. And okay, so here it is. So let's take a closer view. And from the perspective, okay, here we can see that it's unbalanced because it needs a small stand to balance itself. And of course, as a Lego Technic set, it looks very accurate like the real one. The green, the color, I think they picked this really nice. It's really accurate to the default one as well. So mostly black with a pinch of green here and on some places as well. And going to the front, just like the F1 car, we can lift it here, we can push it down. You can see that there is also a working suspension, although the back is noticeably a lot softer than the front. It's actually because of the difference of the mechanism of the suspension. So here we have like a spring, and the spring is really flexible, so we can compress it nicely. But here I think we use like different type of spring. We use two different springs with like a piston here. So if we can still in theory push it down, but it's a lot less because the motion is only up and down. So I think this is done because in real life people who like racing, of course, like to get to higher speeds. And to keep a low profile, the bike, of course, can really shrink down a lot when you're going to high speed, so the wind doesn't hit you as much. So apart from this, there's a lot of wind hitting the tires, but then the more speed at higher speeds, a lower profile is a lot more stable. So let's put the stand back down. And from a road legal standpoint of this bike, you can see that there are mirrors here. There is wingtips at the front here, smaller wingtips. So the H2R is actually the road legal version of the Kawasaki Ninja, and the reason being is because there are mirrors and everything is just much more road legal, safer and standardized. Even the exhaust is much quieter. There's an exhaust here, it's much quieter, and of course it makes slightly less power than the non-road legal one, but of course they're both as cool, if not cooler. And then for here we have the pedals for the bike, the right side being the brake, and then the left side being the shifter or the clutch. So speaking of a clutch, this bike, Hyperbike, also has a working gearbox. So this right now we have on neutral, and actually just like in real life, if there is a piston, there are pistons here. I don't know if you guys can see that. There are like this is 4 cylinders, 4 pistons. And if we, right now, because this is on neutral, if we spin the bike, or if we spin the tires, there's not doing anything. There's a little chain here, by the way. So it's not doing anything. But if we switch it into first gear, right now it's on first gear. If we move it, it will actually slowly move the gears up and down. The pistons up and down, sorry. The engine up and down, and it will actually produce power. And of course, get the bike moving. And to get it to second gear, of course, you have to press the clutch down. And while you press the clutch down, you have to shift up 2 times. 1 and 2. So now we're in second gear, and I think it's a lot lighter for me to spin it as well. So this is a bit lighter for me if I spin the bike, but I think it's kind of unnoticeable. So because of course the second gear is higher, so this is lighter. This feels a bit lighter. Then here, of course, we have the rear lights. We have some more aero features to make the bike, of course, as fast as possible. And here we have a smoothened front as well to give even more performance. And then even the wingtips on the side here, the smoothened out front part, is all contributes to the smoothness of the bike and the speed of the bike as well. So to put it into neutral, we can just put it into neutral or first gear first, and then you can put it back to neutral. That's it. We have neutral, and I'm not sure if that's okay. Let's talk about the wheels next. So the wheels here are custom wheels, and they are road wheels. I think they look like road vehicle wheels. And here we can see the pipes of the exhaust from the 4 cylinders. You can see the 4 cylinders we merge into one exhaust. And then there are mirrors here. And oh yeah, there's also a speedometer here, so it shows how fast the bike is going, 400 kilometers an hour. So this is where the person sit, and they have to like lay down a bit more to the front so that they have less aero resistance. So of course they can go faster. And then here we can of course move the bike's wheels. And then I think that's it for the bike. We just have a gas cap, and this is the gas cap for the Kawasaki Ninja. And here's the logo. We have some structural struts here, the green ones of course. Some and then there's also one thing that I'm not so sure of. It's like this black pipe. The other side doesn't have it, but I'm not sure what it's for. Maybe it's for the gas, maybe it's for something. I'm not so sure. I think that's it for the Kawasaki Ninja H2R. Okay, so here we have the NEOM McLaren Formula E race car. So here this is the Formula E and this is the Formula 1 race car. They're both from McLaren, and this one is pullback. So, but the difference between the first one is that this one has two pullback mechanisms, so this one should be faster. So I just pulled it back a bit and let's see. And it seems to be a bit faster as well. So let's see. Oh yeah, so I think it's faster. So this version of the McLaren car is electric, as suggested with the Formula E. And I'm more of a Formula 1 enjoyer, but there's a lot more designs that are kind of unique to Formula E. Just like how there is this extended tail hook at the end. I'm not sure what it's called, but I'm not sure why it's extended, because as you can see in the Formula 1 car, the tail lights are just like this. Tail lights are just not extended, but this one is extended. And then the wing is a lot more different as well. It's not as big as the Formula 1 cars. I'm not so sure why. Maybe it's because they're heavier. Because the Formula E cars are really heavy. And even the front wing is also different, more different. So, oops. So that part is a common part that falls off because of how fragile it is and how it's only supported by one stud. Okay, so here we can see that the difference between the diffuser at the front, the wing at the front, you can see that it's like the wing is tucked in for the Formula E car, but then for the Formula 1 car it's kind of more tucked outwards, if that makes sense. So that's the difference. And then maybe the front is more defined, but I think this is because it's bigger. The side profile is also more different than the Formula 1 cars that we reviewed before this. This one has a lot shallower side strip. And then we here have the fins that's supposed to make the Formula E cars more aerodynamic. So I think the function of these fins is to direct air into the sides of the wing. And even this one also can direct air into the wing. And then here we can also rotate the wheels like normal. And while we're actually driving the car, so we have them rotate slightly and they will actually go to the right or left. Like this. And then for the steering wheel is not connected to the wheels. So sadly, even if the steering wheel is turning, we cannot turn the wheels. However, we can adjust the steering wheel up and down. So maybe the driver is shorter, then we can drive. So then we can change the steering wheel downwards. Or maybe the racer, the F1 racer a Formula E racer is taller, then we can adjust the steering wheel as needed. So that's it for the Formula E car. And going to the Formula 1 car, let's just do a simple and quick review. And I think it's the same, but there's just this one tiny little thing that I don't understand at the top. Maybe it might be solar panels, I'm not so sure, because this is a Formula 1 car. And I think that's it. Alright, so what do you guys think of these two awesome sports vehicles? So make sure to leave your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to share this video, like this video even, and for those who haven't subscribed to our channel, so please subscribe to our channel so you can see more content just like this.
So thank you for watching and see you again on our next review.
Bye bye.